You're listening to And This Is Why I Love Comics.
Andy and Mike. Andy and Mike.
All right, and welcome to another episode of And This Is Why I Love Comics. I'm Andy.
Yep, and I'm Mike.
And we're here. Welcome to another Monday. And if you're listening to it on a different day, welcome to that day as well. We come out every Monday in your ears, and hopefully you enjoy what we're doing. We talk about comic books. We talk about our lives. We talk about whatever we want to talk about.
Most of it's rambling.
And most of it is absolutely nonsense. But I'm okay with that. I hope you are too. Welcome to the show. Today, we're going to talk about the Kree Skrull War from Marvel Comics. Dun, dun, dun. And I saw this while I was shopping around at a comic store, and I thought, you know what? I've heard so much about this story, and yet never read it.
Yeah, it had lasting ramifications, throughout Marvel.
Yeah, they talk about it still. The edition I read covers Avengers 89 to 97. I hadn't realized it was that many issues.
Nearly a year.
I mean, back then, it's probably unheard of. One or two, and then moved on to the next.
Yeah, self-contained stories.
If this was written today, it would have been 3 trades.
Yeah, and a reason to relaunch the whole
right. Yes.
comic
and each
universe.
trade, would have been covering 1 through 7. Good point there. Kree Skrull War had so many funny little moments in it. I was not expecting it. Not intentional funny, but just past story, which was great. Now, this was, I don't know what year was that originally, but it was Roy Thomas, Neil Adams art, Sal Buscema art, John Buscema art.
Yeah, that's all
Tom Paul, like big names.
Yeah, the full, it is interesting though, because like you go from Sal, which I'm like going, oh, this is classic Marvel. And then all of a sudden, like it jumps right into full blown, like fully rendered Neil Adams art.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa. I forgot that he was doing that kind of stuff at this era.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for the full-on stars of that era doing the story. It's just it's crazy.
Yeah, unfortunately, he wasn't able to stick it out. Like it ended with John Buscema doing it.
I didn't mind Sal's work.
No.
I thought it was great for its time, and even for now. Like I thought it held up. The art did.
Yeah, he was an excellent storyteller, gives you that sense of drama, their dynamics, and you knew the characters. I will say that there is something that doesn't quite work during this era, primarily with Scarlet Witch, because she's got that headband that kind of looks like the letter M. They give her a high forehead above that, like from her eyebrows, they let her have a full forehead. Then they put that letter M. Then they put the hair on top of that. And if you were to take that M out of there, that gives her the biggest head you've ever seen. It is absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, they all look a little different.
Yeah.
But not radically different. I think you're right. The Scarlet Witch probably was the most. When I was reading this, I wasn't prepared for the journey all across the Marvel. It went to the Inhumans. It went to not the Savage Land, but pretty close to the Savage Land era. And then, we were suddenly took a left turn at Albuquerque and we're in the Vision's body. It's
the Fantastic Voyage episode,
right? We were in the negative zone, and it went everywhere it could for a title that is supposed to be space battle warriors and stuff like that. It traveled all over the place. I had no clue where it would go next, and I kind of liked that. It was like unexpected. They didn't shy away from just changing 180 and doing something else. I mean, like Again, that Vision here, the Vision's lying down and unconscious. Oh, Ant-Man, guess I gotta go inside.
Yep, gotta figure this out.
I'm like, where did this come from?
Yeah, it's like, I know what Roy Thomas just watched.
Right. Of course, it really, it's Captain Marvel was a big part of it.
Yeah, I'd almost say the whole story arc wraps around him. Almost everything is around Captain Marvel.
Yep, and Rick Jones.
Yeah, because there was a slightly symbiotic relationship with them at the time.
I guess I always in the back of my head remember reading that they had some sort of pairing there, but I guess I didn't realize it was that extensive, where one was shunted into the negative zone while the other one was active. Yeah,
there's a different take on the Captain Marvel from DC, or technically Fawcett Comics, where it's like Billy Batson changes into Captain Marvel. Then it's like Rick Jones turns into Captain Marvel.
This was not the normal group of Avengers. This was the era of Quicksilver, Vision, Scarlet Witch, Goliath, who was Hawkeye. It wasn't even. Don't even get me started on Goliath, really.
Yeah, that threw me for a loop, because I was like, I don't remember him looking like this. And I was, oh wait, they said Clint as the guy's name. I'm looking, isn't that Hawkeye's name? And I actually had to look it up, and it's like, oh yeah, sure enough.
It's Hawkeye,
yeah. Hawkeye kind of took on another persona. I don't know if that's going to be in this new Avengers movie.
Probably not.
Where Hawkeye becomes Goliath.
Yeah, it was bizarre in a lot of ways. And yet they had, there's familiarity even to current movies with Ronin and the Kree. There's Super Skrull, you got to love that. It filled a lot of my void that I was missing in Marvel Comics, because I didn't know what to expect. I actually thought it was a little, for a title of the Kree Skrull War, it was a little war light.
Yeah, that was one of my points I was going to bring up. It's like, boy, it took a long time to get there, and when it did, it was done.
Exactly. There was a huge buildup, and then almost a dud. Like, okay, here's the war. So turn the page. Oh, that's it. Then. Okay. That's all, huh? Kind of weird. Yeah, you had a list of things.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if I want to go through page by page. There were some funny moments, and you had listed it, so I'll let you. I'll comment when you go through your list here.
Yeah, because some of them I have questions, because I was not into comics. Like, I kind of grabbed a comic or two here or there. That's why, to me, like, the random reads was like kind of an important thing, because it's like I would just grab a comic because the cover looked cool, and I would read it, and I had no idea what was going on. And a lot of times it didn't matter. You weren't like, oh yeah, this is a continuing story from here or there or whatever. It's just, so I wasn't really fully versed on who are these Avengers and why are these characters here and not these characters. But so some of these things I will have legit questions for you, hoping that you can answer them more than I could. But one of the funniest things was right almost towards the beginning, so obviously Rick Jones and Captain Marvel are got some radiation poisoning or something like that. It's kicking in. Captain Marvel does. So Vision sends out an alert, and there's these two panels that are absolutely hilarious. It's like, we got to call these people. So they wanted to show superheroes they're lounging around, and it is clearly Quicksilver is playing chess by himself. There's no one else there. So I was like, who's he playing chess with? Apparently himself at super speed, maybe. Don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
And then Scarlet Witch is lounging on her bed. It's like Quicksilver's playing chess, and we're just catching a glimpse of, they're both still in their costumes.
They didn't have a change of clothes. I don't know.
I guess not. It's like, if you're really supposed to be just kind of kicking back and relaxing, why are you still in your superhero costume?
It was Avengers Mansion. Maybe they're required to.
Yeah, at a moment's notice, you never know. So you just have to wear this stinky costume that you've been wearing for the last 5 days straight.
I would hope they had a change of clothes, but.
Yeah. So one of the questions I had is that, this whole thing starts out with Captain Marvel having absorbed way too much radiation, and he's about to die. So they're like, well, we got to do something about this. And the Vision says, I got this little crystal in my head that is like the power of many suns or something like that. And I'll use this to drain off this radiation that Captain Marvel's got. And I keep thinking, like, one of the key causes of cancer, or a cure for some cancers, is radiation. And then doesn't ultimately Captain Marvel die of cancer?
Yes, cancer. Yeah, that's for sure.
So I'm like, is that a lift from this initial, like, he got an overdose and was at death's door because of this cancer, or was it something else that they kind of established down the road?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I had the same question. Like, they toy around with how much he absorbed, and then later on he dies of something similar. So I wonder if that's, the initial thought about that, or if they just take it later and use it as an idea. I loved that they decide to break into the Fantastic Four building, and Captain Marvel first goes into the lobby and then realizes, oh wait, I can fly, and I'll just leave the lobby, since it's like, wait, what do you mean? You just realized, you could have.
I'm a superhero. I can do this other way.
Right. Payoff, the 35th floor. I should have done this in the first place.
Yeah,
you should have. I'm not sure why you went through the lobby. It's not. He wasn't thinking clearly.
Yeah, he forgot his abilities. In the second issue, they encounter the Sentry, a great Jack Kirby, obviously inspired, if not flat out design. I think they mentioned that he had not been seen since an earlier issue of Fantastic Four or something like that. But the Sentry is like great design. They keep referencing him as the Sentry, and this giant robot from, a Kree-based robot. And then, what was it, maybe about 15, 20 years ago now, Marvel comes out with the forgotten hero of Marvel Comics called the Sentry. And he's going to be in this new Thunderbolts movie coming out. And it's like, how does one comic company have two characters with the same name?
They own it. They could use it. I don't know.
Yeah. I know that they've had like the Flash Jay Garrett and the Flash Wally West, the Flash Barry Allen, but they're all still the Flash, This is like the Sentry as a Kree, automaton versus the Sentry, this guy who's been around since World War II, but no one remembered it because he's got such powers that cause everybody to forget or whatever.
I think my instincts want to say Bendis.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Do you think this was the first appearance of Carol Danvers in these stories?
They do reference that she, Captain Marvel's rescued her several times, so I know that she's appeared in the Captain Marvel, and I think even Carol Danvers was there when he was in the green and white Captain Marvel outfit.
Okay, yeah, I just wondered because, you see her all the time now, but back then, before she became Miss Marvel. Yeah, so what's going on with Goliath?
That's what I was trying to figure out. One, the costume's horrendous. I have no idea how that costume works.
So bad. It works for Hercules maybe, but not anybody else.
He's got for lack of better phrasing, it's like his costume is just there to hide the nipples. I don't know if there's a comic code thing. It's like you cannot show men's nipples because Barry Windsor Smith got dinged for that on the cover of a couple of the first Conan issues. He didn't draw them. But this costume is just terrible. He's got the swashbuckler boots, a tank top armor chest piece, and then a mask that goes down and covers just the tops of his shoulders somehow as if by adhesive.
Right.
They're stuck there. They don't roll up. They don't flap over. Nothing. But this is also the era where Yellow Jacket, Ant-Man was under the guise of the Yellow Jacket, and he had those gigantic shoulder panels that would prevent any peripheral vision. he couldn't look to his left or his right.
I mean, I knew Hawkeye had this, this time as Goliath, but I didn't realize how stupid it was.
Yeah. I've read there's one kind of a throwaway line where he kind of gets back to normal size several issues into the series. And he goes, I forgot to take my Hank Pym pills or whatever.
Right.
And I was like, he did this voluntarily? Like, why would he, wasn't cursed to grow? Or I have no idea why he's Goliath. No idea why he's not Hawkeye in these.
I've given up my serum. I'm going to go back to being a normal guy because I don't like this.
Yeah, I did look up briefly, because I was like, isn't that Hawkeye's name? And when you look up Hawkeye, they don't reference this era, at least not on the wiki page that I came across. They just say Hawkeye's Hawkeye. There's nothing about, and for a while he was Goliath.
Right, yeah.
It's kind of like, we don't talk about that time. No one mentions this era.
Well, I didn't realize Hawkeye, like I knew he had some emotional problems, but, he leaves the Wasp alone in the ice area and says, I feel like a rat for taking off on her, but I can't work with women around, not since Natasha and I broke up.
Oh, yeah.
And then, I'm fantasizing about the Scarlet Witch now, and oh my goodness. I'm like, what teen angst is this? Like,
yeah.
He's like 35, isn't he? Like,
yeah. I forgot about that part. Yeah, that is. And then the fact that he has to argue with his own daydreams. It's like, I said, beat it. Right. Like, this is your own thoughts, dude. Just don't think about it. Yell at his clearly manifested imagination. It's like, oh man.
Schizophrenia, anybody?
Yeah, terrible. It also leads to one of the more interesting foreshadowing is like the page prior. So this is during this weird like Kree de-evolution on Earth. So they go up to, it's the North Pole, I guess. Yeah. And they start defrosting the North Pole and de-evolving. The process would be about bringing the Earth back into a pre-Ice Age de-evolved state, as if the Kree had nothing to do with, some sort of evolutionary steps. But so the Wasp and Yellow Jacket jump on top of a giant flying dragonfly.
Hank Pym.
And Hank Pym. And they're flying into this like, what is this new thawed out rainforest jungle that just got formed in the Arctic North to prevent the Wasp from getting into any, like, oh no, she may not survive this. He just backhands her, just whack, knocks her clean out while they are flying hundreds, if not thousands of feet above the ground, just whack. And then says, okay, I will control this dragonfly and it will get you to safety.
This is the way it's gotta be. Mac.
Yeah, that's still like, and it's like, well, how ironic, because later on he does actually do it, and that becomes a big controversial moment.
Hank Pym known to beat his wife.
Yeah, so it's a prelude. So this should be a key issue. And
right, issue 90 of the Avengers.
Yeah, first time Hank Pym swats the Wasp.
I don't know. This can't be just the first time he's smacked her up.
God, terrible.
No, it's
this is under the guise of like, I have to keep her safe. So what do I do to keep her from harm? I'll beat the living crap out of her.
Don't talk to her and tell her.
Yeah, this isn't safe for you. You need to go back. Nope.
Just knock her out.
Sorry. No time to explain. But this is this is the way it's gotta be. Whack.
Crazy.
So yeah.
He smacked her so hard she was limp as last night's lasagna. Something Captain America said later in the story.
Yeah.
I mean, not about that, but
man, it's so good. So a lot of the dialogue, I will say the dialogue is clearly of this era. It is meant for younger readers, but then there's a lot of like jargon, and it's really the nicknames that threw me off. And most of the nicknames have to do with Rick Jones. I don't know how many Rick Boy. And it's like, what's a Rick Boy? Why would you say that to him? Like, that doesn't come off. Most nicknames are a shortened version of the person's full name, but you just added another word to it. That was really
making copies, Rick-a-rama.
Yeah, pretty much. It was very, very odd.
This was early Vision and Scarlet Witch romance. It had a lot of things that later on would come to pass.
Yeah. Before WandaVision, this was an early. I don't know. Like I said, this. I hadn't read anything prior to this, so maybe there was something else there, but inklings and him like, no, I must resist. I'm just a mere android. She
I am
a
a
human
machine.
Yeah,
it did surprise me that how they emphasized Quicksilver and Wanda's mutation, like being mutants.
Yeah.
And they kind of made that as you're different, just like the Vision. I hadn't realized. I knew they were, but I hadn't realized even back then they were positioned as being such alienated from mankind kind of thing.
Yeah. So they find that, this new savage land is being made by the Kree, and they stumble across that. Quickly, the Yellow Jacket gets devolved into this brute, and it's like the best parts is like his costume is now in tatters, but his emblem is still perfectly intact, and obviously his pants are for censorship reasons.
Comic Code Authority said must wear pants.
Yeah, he's completely bulked out. He is this hairy Neanderthal and just huge ripping muscles, not at all like what the proportions of the Yellow Jacket are. And yet
I know I want to evolve back.
No kidding. If that's how I can lose some weight, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that.
I get a 6-pack. Great.
Yeah. One thing, and this is something that I've noted throughout almost this entire near 10, 12 issue run, Captain Marvel's pretty worthless. He's captured in almost every issue. He's somehow secured by something. He's either held captive by, shackles or, some sort of intergalactic force field that's holding him in place, or there's these, force beams that are held. The dude just is a prisoner this entire series. And it's like he gets transferred from one to the next. He's always, he's free. Nope. Oh, he's captured again. Oh, now he's free. Nope. He's back to being captured again. It's so freaking funny, that the entire thing is about Captain Marvel, but he really has like 3 panels where he isn't captured again in some capacity. And then there he goes again, because like then the next issue is really about the government coming in and saying like, hey, the Kree, there's aliens out there, which I found hilarious. It's like, the world's in an uproar on issue 92. The world is in uproar because they've now discovered that there's alien species out there. Now, this is after they see Scarlet Witch do what she does, the Hulk do what he does, Thor from a mythological world of Asgard, Vision, a robot, all these mutants, and now people are like, aliens? What is this? Everything else is fine, but aliens? Enough's enough.
Norse God, that's okay, but
that's fine. And then the Avengers are held, accused for, housing this alien. And I'm going to turn myself in. Then don't. And then when he takes off, it's like, what? It gets weirder and weirder. But
you're going to turn yourself in.
Yeah.
And of course, there's this big reveal later on. Captain America, Iron Man, Thor come in and disband the Avengers.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, 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 like a million other issues. Yep. But this was, one of the first. Yeah, we get this weird segue of, journey into the body of the Vision by none other than Ant-Man. It didn't make sense that he was getting I don't know. Could you? The art was great. Don't get me
Neil
wrong on that
Adams.
story.
Yep.
That was Neil Adams in his prime.
Yeah.
Beautiful layouts, beautiful artwork.
Very dynamic.
It's really cool visuals, even though the story didn't make sense. So, I mean, I loved Ant-Man next to Vision's uvula in the back of his throat. I'm not sure if the foreword said anything about this idea that suddenly we're going to go back into the Vision's body, but it just was really weird in the middle of this trade on why the Vision was suddenly, fit to be explored.
The whole expedition down in there was just almost a complete waste of time. The whole
Pretty
issue,
much, yeah.
Basically Ant-Man's fantastic journey into the center of him, Vision, and fighting his way in and out of there. But the fight, it was all that to basically I had to get to the brain in one panel. It's resolved. I got to his brain at long last, and I hit a switch, and then any minute now he'll wake up, and we're done. And he's up, and it's like, yep, I had got zapped by cows. And it's like, okay. Yeah, the cows turned out that they were the Skrulls that the Fantastic Four had wiped their memories out of issue 2 of the Fantastic Four. So, I mean, this is the Avengers 90, 92, 93 issue or something like that. So if you kind of do some quick math, this is 8 years of the Avengers comics. Who remembers that? There weren't trade paperbacks reprinting those stories. Who would remember that the Fantastic Four convinced or hypnotized Skrulls to think that they were cows?
Who was lucky enough to still have that issue?
Yeah. It's like, do you remember that? But we don't.
Cool pull, cool callback. But yeah, you're right. You could have said there was 100 Skrulls, and I would have gone, yeah, okay, that's sure. Why not?
Yeah. That there's these 3 cows, and then there was technically 4 Skrulls. It's like, what happened to the 4th Skrull?
Dun, dun, dun.
And that gets revealed later. I don't know if you got the same thing, but coloring comics back at this era, you didn't have the computers to quickly lay down swatches of color. And to keep colors consistent, they had basically a very finite number of colors. For some reason, this entire issue, whoever was doing the coloring opted to color the Vision's head yellow.
Yep.
And I can't get past that. It's like, I could understand I goofed it on this frame. I goofed it on this one. But no, it's the entire book. What is normally a green top to the Vision's head with his red face is entirely yellow. And it's like, oh, okay. But then it's like, nope, it's that way. Then you go down several more pages and they show the Vision again. Yellow, 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 yellow. And it's like, did the colorist just not have a clue that the Vision, what he looked like?
I wondered, if back then there were plates, they could only do who made the error, because it was certainly, they reprinted this and then still kept the error color rather than fix it.
Yeah. And I know, technically in the CMYK print color mix that you would have mixed a couple colors to get to that green. Still, it's like, you got the green in other things. So I can't say that, oh yeah, there's no green on this page because, he's got green on the rest of the costume. So it's like, can't really say that. Or maybe it's because he's so weak and maybe the coloration on his head is a reflection of how weak he is. Don't know.
Right.
But there was, this being Neil Adams' appearance in the Avengers book, odd story to start with, but there are a lot of yep, that's classic Neil Adams. A lot of the zip tone to help introduce shades and shadows, kind of dot pattern that you see across primarily Ant-Man's helmet, just to kind of give it a slight texture. His fine line artwork. A lot of the poses are very much, he still used those poses right up to the very end. There's a couple of classic ones there's one where it shows how the Vision was blasted. And the dramatic pose that they show of the Vision getting blasted by these 3 cows is pretty much like, is that Dead Man? Or is that Metamorpho? Or is that his, that pose, I know he's used that several times. Not, discrediting any of his skill and as an artist. I will say, though, I don't think he drew the Fantastic Four characters. There's something just tremendously wrong with how he drew the Thing. And I'm almost wondering if he didn't. I'm not getting this rock texture right. Okay, just hand it off to one of our bullpen artists. And it just seems exceptionally lazy every time you see the Thing. But everybody else is drawn so well. It was just like, I don't know if he was like, I just can't get this Thing's look to look like the Thing. And so they had somebody else draw it. But it's just shocking how bad whenever you saw Neil Adams' Thing. Turns out the Super Skrulls turn into the various members of the Fantastic Four and duke it out. A little cartoonish, especially when it comes to the Skrulls, because at the time, the Skrulls were not as defined in their look as they were now. Just gigantic ears, and their little costume had enormous flaps, wings, fins, whatever you want to call it, but just these massive exaggerations on the costumes and somewhat a little bit of a joke. I also thought if there were, I think back in the day, there was a thing called the Marvel No Prize. This kind of goes back to the previous issue, but I saw so many things where I was like, oops, someone wasn't paying attention. But there was a clear sign on the previous issue where Captain Marvel's being hunted by S.H.I.E.L.D. Because the government's after Captain Marvel. He's an alien and associated with one of these alien powers, needs to turn himself into the government. And there is a close-up of a S.H.I.E.L.D. jet, fighter jet, and in it has Nick Fury and Dum Dum Dugan. And Nick Fury has no eye patch. And I was like, hey, if I saw that and I sent it in, I would have got a Marvel No Prize. And then Captain America's S.H.I.E.L.D., when Rick Jones, again, jumping way ahead in this story arc, Rick Jones conjures up the original invaders, the Golden Age Marvel heroes. Captain America's S.H.I.E.L.D. in that case has got different color concentric rings. It's like there's a blue ring and not the blue center. But again, I was like catching that mainly because of a Marvel No Prize. If I can still turn that in.
Think so?
Maybe not.
I bet you can.
But to go back to what I was saying earlier with Captain Marvel, the story starts off with him captured in the negative zone. Then he's shackled. Then he's captured by the Skrulls later on and trapped in the Mandroids, and the Mandroids capture him, and he's held by Ronan. The accusers captured him.
The back cover of this book makes me laugh. 3 cows shot me down. Help me.
Yeah.
Can you imagine seeing that on a cover and going, this is going to be great?
Yeah. That sold me. There are moments where I love what Neil Adams did and his contributions to the comic industry. I think he got fairly far along on the, Babe Best Artist brackets ever.
Yeah.
But there are also claims that he makes that I'm like going, there's a fantastic line in the first Austin Powers movie where it's like, he'd make outlandish claims like he invented the question mark. Reading that last bit, is like, here's the cover I did and why I did it. Again, he claims, I came up with this whole plot sub point. And I was like, oh, good gosh, did you? Like, you weren't on this book until like 4 issues into this story run. You saying like, oh yeah, that was mine. That's mine. I did that. You did a lot. I'm not going to fault you. I'm not going to say you didn't. But there's also got to be a point where it's like, dude, you can't claim everything.
Right. What about the other guy? Yeah.
Roy Thomas was right there as well. So, and again, I don't know if it's a matter of like, some of this stuff just gets lost to history, and then there's no one to refute it. Yeah. No one's going to be able to say that I didn't say that because Well, most of the people who would have known are probably dead at this point. Obviously, this is, Iron Man today is considered like, oh, that's such a cool superhero. Everybody loves Iron Man. He's the greatest. And it's like, yeah, the movies made him so. He was in some cartoons that also helped. But at this era, Iron Man was not, the household name, nor was he thought of as being this great superhero. And I saw the primary reason why. Issue 94, second to last page. The Avengers are duking it out with the Mandroids. These Mandroid army are there to claim Captain Marvel from the Avengers. The Avengers are there to try to no, you're not going to get them, blah, blah, blah. The Mandroids are holding their own against the Avengers. And it's our suits are made so that we can, we anticipate all the Avengers and what they can do. So, they blast Goliath, no problem. Captain America throws his shield, no effect. And then Iron Man's going, I know their weakness. They don't know everything that I can do. And he pops out roller skates with jets on them.
They didn't know I had these.
Now, this guy clearly flies. This guy can blast, out of his hands and use that to help him fly. But instead, and he looks ridiculous as he's skating, wee. You can almost hear him saying that.
Introducing the lamest power ever.
I have rocket-powered roller skates. From a design standpoint, the Mandroids are possibly one of the worst design characters. One, the costumes are ridiculous. This little protuberance above their head where it's is that a headlight? What is that? Primarily, they have these tubes that stick out of the side of their boots and they run up to their forearm and their shoulder. And it's symmetrical on either side. And they have another set of tubes that's coming from their shoulder blades right down to their butt crack. Everything about this is basically oh, I wonder where we could hit them that would cause the most damage. Any one of those tubes that are sticking out? And then if you're really a big guy, just grab the built-in handle that they have on the back and then pick them up like you would a lunchbox.
That Tony Stark.
Yeah. Obviously, he didn't use any of those exposed hoses. I mean, it's every time you see them, we got to defeat Bane. I don't know how we're going to stop Bane. There's no way we can stop Bane. Well, if we cut one of his hoses, that will bring him back to being regular. After twice, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. If that happened to me as Bane twice, I would go I'm never going to have these hoses sticking out. Find another way to transmit this stuff without having these giant hoses that are so easy. But yeah, ultimately, because Iron Man, Tony Stark helped develop these Mandroids, he's able to take them out.
He's done everything.
Yep. And then the Inhumans show up. Why not? And then another clear coloring error kicks in with the Skrulls being colored blue.
Yeah, oops.
Yeah. It's man, I guess comics were they might have been edited, but no one's really looking up for the details. For some reason, it's Black Bolt has left. He's wandering the streets. So apparently there's another story that has that happening. But then when they do meet up with Black Bolt, instead of him being this guy with the amnesia wandering the streets, nope, he's back in costume. How? Why? Don't know. It just happens.
Yeah, it was an odd thing with the Inhumans. It wasn't necessary to go that route, but I think the main thing was dropping that force field around them. I remember reading a future story where they talk about how their force field collapsed and made them vulnerable again. And I know that's what led to them being put onto the moon.
Yeah.
So, this was another big event. It's just kind of hidden away in this war book. I love that it jumped around, and then I also think it jumped around too much. So,
it truncated stories. I mean, we kind of joke about how Bendis will drag out a storyline 15 issues when it could have been done in 2. Here, they come and meet the Inhumans, And there's like, oh my goodness, Maximus had got the entirety of the Inhumans against Black Bolt. And then he basically says, yep, I'll say something. Hear me, oh my people, I'm Black Bolt. Okay, we're with you. Against Maximus now. And it's over.
Right.
So I was like, here we are talking about the Kree Skrull War, and yet there's no real evidence of the Krees against the Skrulls. We've seen the Skrulls, we've seen the Kree. We just haven't seen them against each other yet. And we're now at issue 96, and there's only 2 more to go, kind of a thing. And it's like, okie dokes.
It's more of the same.
Yeah. I mean, in 96, they actually do get into like, okay, now we're into space. And so that was good, and then they're like, oh, here's a fleet of Skrulls and, the Avengers against the Skrulls, and they make short work of it. But again, Captain Marvel gets himself into some trouble. Then the Kree come into it with Rick Jones, and for some reason, I always kept thinking that the dude's name was the Supreme Intelligence, but then it's actually the Intelligence Supreme. So it's kind of like, I have cosmic power. What? Stan Lee, you're so clever. Let's change it around and call it Power Cosmic. Yeah.
Yeah. Genius. Yeah.
So instead of being the Supreme Intelligence, I'm the Intelligence Supreme.
And the war gets fought. Rick Jones. Hey.
Rick James.
Rick James is a different kind of character. Rick Jones kind of pulls something out of his rear pocket and can suddenly conjure up imaginary characters into real life, duke it out with, I just, at that point, I was like, sure, why not? You could just do pretty much whatever you want with the character. Like in the middle of the story, he was gone for a little bit, and now he's back again, bringing in early Captain America and Namor, and just a big battle at the end.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre, and it was just we got to wrap this up here. How are we gonna do this? Oh wait. Let's just bring in some old characters you want to draw. Okay, great. Battle is over shortly afterwards, and people are banished off the planet. And what did you think of the ending?
Yeah, that one jumped out of nowhere. But again, I think to me, the ending was brilliant because Captain Marvel, once again, gets imprisoned, but back in the body of Rick Jones.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, the whole thing is about him getting imprisoned or captured or unable to be the hero standing alone. And yeah, pretty ridiculous.
So if you have read this book, please let us know. Our webpage is and this is why I love comics podcast.buzzsprout.com. You can email us at and this is why I love comics at gmail.com. Join us on the Twitter and this is why L1. We're on the Facebook and this is why I love comics podcast. On the TikTok, Why I Love Comics podcast. Send us a message, text us, let us know you're out there, what you want us to read next. Thanks to all our supporters and friends of the show. We couldn't do it without you. Thanks to producer Katie, producer Tony, co-host Matt 2.0, 10.0, Kevin, and Jamie. Of course, thanks to Thunder Chicken for all the tunes. All the links are in the show notes.
Taskmaster or something?
Oh, Taskmaster. You ever watch Taskmaster?